Averill says, how do you stop your man overcommitting then under-delivering, and why do you think he does it? Depends on what you mean by overcommitting then under-delivering. So giving you big promises and then showing up with smaller results. Well, I mean, that's a conversation that you need to have, Averill, with your man. How do you stop him from doing it? Well, if he's in a pattern, then that's something that's going to continue going on with him for the rest of his life until one, he gets awareness around it. So this is what a human being needs in order to change a pattern. One, he needs to know that he's doing it, right? If he doesn't know that he's over-promising and under-delivering, that's not going to change at all. Two, he needs to reach a threshold, an emotional threshold. He needs to feel like it's something that absolutely needs to change. And so how does someone experience that something is so bad that it absolutely needs to change? How does somebody experience that? If you are doing something, if you are in a pattern, let's say that you're in a pattern of dating guys that just want to hook up with you. How do you change it? How do you get to a place where you are like, hey, this is a must. I absolutely must change this. I'm no longer willing to accept my own pattern. There has to be enough. Here's the answer. The answer is there has to be enough pain. You have to experience enough pain from your past and look into your future and say, this pain is not only going to still be there, but it's going to get worse. And if you can see that in your past, there's enough pain, and in the future, that it's going to create so much pain and prevent you from living the life that you really want to live, then that at some point you'll hit enough. You'll hit a threshold where you're like, I can't stand this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. This has to change. And then you have to be able to see an alternative. Because if there's no alternative there, then you're just going to go back into the old pattern. So let's talk about this guy, right? So how do you stop the man from overcommitting and then under-delivering? The question is, how big of a problem is this in your relationship? If it is a massive problem in your relationship, then it's something that you want to address, right? Find out what's going on with your man. Find out, who your man is and what's important to him, right? Our relationship, is his relationship with you important? Is his relationship to his kids important, or to his nephew, or to somebody else? Is achieving something really great in his life really important? And what you want to do, if you, maybe you don't want to do this, but what you can do is you can communicate with him and talk to him about it and let him see, or have him show you what kind of pain he's experienced in his past as a result of doing this behavior, right? Which the behavior is overcommitting and then under-delivering. And then show him and ask him and talk to him about how this behavior is going to impact him in the future if he continues doing it. And, at some point, the guy will either say that, okay, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it right now. Or he'll continue going, you know what, it doesn't matter. It's okay. We'll figure it out, all that kind of stuff. And then you have to decide whether his behavior is so bad that you want to walk away from it, or whether you're going to continue dealing with it if he thinks it's not a big deal. And then what needs to happen if he doesn't think it's a big deal and it's big enough for you to walk away from, then that's something that you have to decide, right? You have to decide that. And if you decide to walk away, he may change himself in order to be with you again. There's a good possibility that will happen, but there's also a good possibility that he won't, right? There's a book that came out. It was called Change or Die. And in this book, they talked about all these patients that would come to these doctors, and they had life-threatening illnesses, right? You're going to die because you've got this diabetes, but you will not stop drinking Coca-Cola. Or you are going to die because you've got, lung disease, but you keep smoking. Or you're going to die because whatever, right? Some kind of life-threatening illness. And there's this, they're like, you're going to die if you do not do this, if you do not make a change. And the overwhelming majority of people, I think it was like in the 90% or high 80 percentile of people, would not change. They would not change whatever pattern they were in, whatever bad behavior they were doing, in order to save their own lives, right? Most people will not stop a pattern in order to save their own lives. You have to remember that, right? You have to remember that with these people. And if you're like, hey, I want him to change and I want him to do something, you're in the situation where you're trying to fix a guy, right? And you're like, okay, how do I fix this guy? Just remember that he's more likely to die than change his behavior, right? And the motivation for him changing that behavior is usually being in a relationship or being with a woman. That said, it is possible to get enough leverage on a guy that make him want to change, but you have to have those things. He has to be aware. He has to see that it's been painful in the past and that it's going to create a lot of pain in the future, and it's going to prevent him from having and doing and being whatever he wants to have, do, and be. And then he has to have an alternative, right? He has to hit an emotional threshold, and then he has to have some kind of alternative behavior that will replace his current behavior that he can get into a habit of. So I hope that explains it, Averill. We kind of got lost on that chat there, but I hope that helps. And so you got to decide.